welcome to Hmong Peeps show. This show is going to cover a lot of topics. It could be paranormal, it can be spirituality, it could be current events going on in America or current events going on in our community. Pretty much anything that I find interesting. And I hope you will find them interesting as well. But if you haven't done so, why don't you go check out hmongpeeps.com. That's my website. And on that website, I have a lot of, well, not a lot right now, but I'm trying to add new content to that website as often as I can. And you can find videos, music, friends. It's a social website. So check it out. Again, it's hmongpeeps.com. And on that website, you will find these podcasts on the website. I'm going to post them on there. I'm going to also create a YouTube channel soon here and post the podcast on the YouTube channel. And most likely it'll be called Hmong Peeps channel. Now, when I do these podcasts, for now, it's going to be just totally audio because I'm not a tech savvy guy. I've used I have a recording software that I'm using to record this podcast right now, but very soon I will have video podcast interviews. So when I talk about interviews, obviously I'm going to find interesting people to interview. And then there's going to be shows where it's going to be a solo show where it's just me, and then there might be shows where it's not even really an interview, but it's more like people, me and some guy or some girl or some people, some group of people, we just sit down and we discuss things about what we see going on in our community or going on in America or anything. We're just going to sit back, hang out, and talk, and hopefully you guys find our shows interesting. So anyway, tonight's show is going to be catered to the members on my Facebook page, Empowerment for Spiritually Gifted Hmong Peeps. Now, if you guys want to be a part of that group, feel free to go and join the group. But before you do, I must say that read the About Us disclaimer, because I just don't want to open that up for anybody and everybody. That place is, the objective is to empower people who are starting to open up to their spirituality, or people who are on their journey already, a spiritual journey, and they just have many questions. I know there's so many spiritually gifted people out there, but they just don't have an outlet, to talk about their experiences, and it just makes them feel stuck, makes them feel afraid, makes them feel like people are looking at them like they're crazy, but they're really not crazy. I mean, I've met some crazy people, and a lot of those people, I think all the members on that page, none of them's crazy. So I want to give a shout out to all you members out there, the admins. You guys have done a great job. So anyway, tonight I'm going to talk about spiritual protection. And spiritual protection is something that I think a lot of us, we take for granted. What I mean by that is, for the general understanding of what spiritual protection is, some of us, we just look at it like, okay, this guy or this girl who is spiritually gifted, they must be walking around with like a huge halo or a glow about them that scares the crap out of demons or ghosts. Some people are like that, okay? They do have that glow about them. And some people might call that glow their aura, but it's basically their spiritual enhancement, spiritual development. Okay, so the thing that we take for granted the most is when we have that gut feeling of not to go somewhere that's haunted. And to me, that is already spiritual protection. No, I believe that everybody born on this earth, no matter what your faith or religion, we are all spiritually protected to some degree. Some of us are protected at a higher level because we have spent time to really pursue our spiritual journey and our spiritual understanding of ourselves and those around us. So for those that are a little bit at a higher level, they might understand more about what I'm talking about. Now, for those of you who are just starting or are kind of dabbling into it, saying, I kind of want to learn just a little bit, it might be too scary. I hope this kind of gives you, this show tonight gives you insight into kind of what to expect. Okay. But anyway, back to the whole spiritual protection. So, spiritual protection, we shouldn't think of it as carrying something like an amulet or wearing a necklace or a ring. It doesn't have to be that. Okay. Now, again, like I said earlier, we are all spiritually protected to some degree. And for those of us who think that we're not, I believe that you are. If you don't believe that you're spiritually protected. Now, when we talk about protection, I mentioned amulets and rings and necklaces, but some of us, we are protected by our spiritual vibrations, our spiritual frequencies. We are protected by our spiritual guides, angels, ancestors, all of those things. Okay. Now, when you are protected by them, that doesn't mean that you are going to be immune to spiritual attacks or spiritual attachments. So when you have this gut feeling of you shouldn't go in that room or you shouldn't go into that house or that building or those woods, that is a form of spiritual protection already. And that's the thing that I see so many people take for granted. And that's why they end up getting either sick or they have a spiritual attack or attachment. So don't ever take that for granted, okay? If you're going to go somewhere and you just feel like, that feels scary, then just don't go. I mean, even for me, when I go places to new environments, I still get that feeling of don't go in there or don't go over there or get the hell out of there. And I do it. A lot of there's a misconception about spiritually gifted people. They think that all of us are not scared of demons and ghosts or mean ghosts, the bad ghosts, bad spirits. But the truth is we all have fear. Because we all know that bad spiritual entities or energies, and their levels of their powers, it might be greater than our spiritual protection. And the best weapon to use against that is to know not to challenge it. There's been many times when I've met with people where they ask me to help remove negative energy or go it's kind of like an exorcism, but my guides tell me, hey, you shouldn't go, or they'll make something happen where I can't get there to help that person, and it's because I'm not spiritually strong enough to go. And I'm okay with that. Even at this level of spiritual enlightenment that I'm at, I mean, I still consider myself learning, even though I've been doing this for many, many years. There are still things that I'm afraid of. For example, I don't like to go into the woods because there are just way too many spirits in the woods that I know that when I go near woods, the forest, I feel all eyes on me from all directions. And that's a very creepy feeling. So for those of you who've experienced being watched or feeling like something's watching you or something's with you, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So, I know a lot of the skeptics are going to say, yeah, look at this dude. He thought he's supposed to be a man. Why is he scared? Man, you can judge all you want, man, but I've seen and experienced very scary things, and I know not to challenge those things if I'm not spiritually strong enough. So, kind of this connects to the spiritual protection. When you're not spiritually strong enough and you know it, that is also a form of spiritual protection. Don't try to, be arrogant and cocky about your spiritual development. I've seen shamans, and I've seen spiritually gifted people. A lot of people call them shao or psychics, and I've seen them challenge things that make me raise an eyebrow. Kind of like, why would you really? You're gonna try that? But then again, that's just me. I don't really know how their spiritual development or spiritual enlightenment level is. But if they feel confident enough to do it, hey, more power to them, because the ultimate goal is to help and heal people and make them feel better. But it just comes off sometimes like, man, why would you want to put yourself in that spot unless you really know that you can handle what's about to happen? For me, as I've mentioned before, I'm okay with not being able to help somebody because I'm not strong enough. And a lot of people who see that kind of me distancing myself from helping someone, they look at it like, this dude's a fraud, or this dude, he's not really spiritually gifted. I can't control what they say, what they think about me. I've learned to accept that, I can never change people's minds. But anyway, they can judge me all they want, but for me, at the end of the day, it's me who's going to end up feeling the wrath of trying to challenge something that I may not have a full understanding of. And it's better to be safe than sorry. So for those of you who are starting off on your spiritual journey, trying to figure out what spiritual protection is, again, just know that we all have some degree of spiritual protection. We just have to be humble, and we just have to listen. If it's not going to be something good over there or over here, and you feel it, don't go and challenge it, or don't go and try to say, I wonder what that is. You're going to get yourself into a lot of trouble that is going to cause you a lot of headaches, pain, and confusion. Okay, so that's a tip for you guys. Now, let's talk about some of these protection as far as like stones. I guess one of the most common one for our community is for those of us that still believe in the old tradition of shamanism or animism. We have these like red or white, black strings around our wrists, necks, ankles. That's a form of spiritual protection. Now, does it really hold any protection? Yes and no, depending on how you received it, of course. So, for example, if you pick up a string and basically it needs to be blessed by somebody. You can't just go to like a fabric store, buy a red string and tie it on your hand and think that it's going to be protecting you, unless you yourself bless it. Now, when we go to, let's say, funeral homes, or we go to somebody's house who they're clearly they're still practicing the traditional ways, shamanism, more than likely you'll see these red strings on their wrists, neck, or ankles, and they had those strings blessed already. And let's talk about holy water. You can't just go to a store and buy a bottle of water and start sprinkling it, in your house to protect it. It has to be blessed by somebody else. Now, when I was younger and I thought about holy water, I had this strange and naive outlook on holy water. I was like, man, where do they buy these things? Did it really come from heaven? But I learned that it has to be blessed by either a pastor, a priest, and they usually keep it within the church. So, but any stones that you buy, or any item that you buy, if you bless it and you pray for protection to be put into that object, then that will have some spiritual protection. Okay, now some of you who are not into spirituality, you might be like, this guy's talking a lot of bullshit, but hey, that's fine. If that's what you want, that's how you see the spirituality topic, that's up to you. Again, I can't control what you think, but based on my experiences, that's what I've learned. So anyway, I also see it's very common to see these rings on the elders. It has like this gold-plated, it's gold-plated, and there's like a little, almost amber color to it. It's a stone. I've heard many different things about these rings. You know, one of my elders at one time told me, if you wear this and you go hunting and somebody try to shoot you, the bullet won't hit you or the gun won't go off. I mean, I'm not one to even try it, but that's what they claim. Now, another one that I see that's pretty common is we have these stones that are turned into pendants, and it's a picture of a monk, like a Southeast Asian monk. And apparently the stone has been taken from, I think, a burial site of that monk, and then they make it into an amulet or a pendant, and they hang it around their necks. And I think that's most common for folks who believe in Buddhism. Another protection, I think the simplest form of protection is prayer. And prayer is more common for Christians, Catholics. But if you don't believe in Christianity, or if that's not your faith, you can still pray. I mean, praying is just talking. It's basically, you're talking to a higher being, or you're talking to someone who is in a spiritual realm. And if you practice shamanism, you can certainly pray to your ancestors. And there's nothing wrong with that. I always say when you pray, you're talking to, in my faith, God. And when you're meditating, you're listening to God. So that to me is the simplest form of protection. And for me, it's worked. And it's worked miracles for me. For some of you, I think a lot of folks who probably don't even have a faith or religion, you think about sometimes how you, out of the blue, you say, oh my God. You use God, like the word God, a lot. And some of you might say, Jesus Christ, and you're not even aware of it. But to me, again, from my faith, I think there's a reason why out of the blue or out of nowhere those words come out of your mouth, and that's because there's a connection to God that maybe you might want to listen to or pay attention to. But yeah, in my experience, when I've prayed, whether it's for protection or for anything else, it's worked wonders and miracles for me. Prayer is very powerful if you understand it and you use it correctly. Now, praying doesn't necessarily mean you're cursing people, because I think cursing and praying does not go hand in hand. Like, I would never pray for somebody to get hurt. That's just cruel, I'm not going to do that. But some people, they'll curse people, and I guess cursing to some degree, I can see how that's almost like a prayer, but it's not a prayer. It's cursing, so it's totally different. But if you ever find yourself, in any type of spiritual situation where you feel endangered, you feel like you're being attacked, or you have a spiritual attachment that you don't like, I would totally recommend and encourage you to pray to either your ancestors, pray to God, or find some faith that you can think of right away and just pray to that. It has to be a higher power, and so that will bring you spiritual protection to get rid of whatever is bothering you spiritually at that point. Now, some of you, again, like I said earlier, you may have experienced the power of prayer. For me, when the few times that I've been spiritually attacked, I've prayed, and the spiritual attacks have gone away. For example, when I was in my early 20s, and some of you have heard this story many times. I've shared it openly, but I was mature, right? So, when that happened to me, I prayed so hard. I said, God, Jesus, please come help me. Get this thing off me. Get this thing off me. And that thing got off me. What was that thing? For sure it wasn't good, because why would it do that to me? And I know a lot of you out there listening to this, you may have had this experience before, but I would be interested in learning from you or listening to you about how you got out of that situation. Now, I've never tried this, but I've heard that for folks who are still practicing shamanism, one of the ways to get rid of these things is they put a knife under their pillow or under their bed. And apparently that helps keep those bad spirits away. Some people hang up corns. Some people burn pepper and walk around the house or something like that. If it works, do it. But I'm not one to judge and say, that doesn't work. I might find it odd, but that doesn't mean I don't respect it. It's just, I've never tried it, so I don't know how that's going to be helpful to me. And hopefully that's okay with some of you guys listening to this. I'm not trying to judge anybody or anybody's faith or religion. It's just, whatever you do, the whole point of this podcast tonight is know that you're spiritually protected to some degree. And it doesn't matter what you believe in, as far as whether it's shamanism, you believe in Buddha, you believe in God, you believe in the Trinity, or even if you believe in Allah, as long as you have some faith and some belief in a higher power, I think that's going to be very beneficial to you to keep yourself spiritually safe. And if you try some of these things now, let's be honest here. Sometimes, for some of you listening out there, you may have tried to pray to God at one point, and that didn't work. Or you may have worn one of those, red cloth or strings on your wrists, ankles, or necks, and you're still getting spiritually attacked. Now, that's to me a prime example of the entities being more powerful than you think they are. So how do you battle this? To me, I think that your faith has to be stronger into whatever you believe in. I think a lot of folks out there who have a very low level of spiritual protection, they are the ones who either are atheists. And, if you are an atheist, whatever, I'm not judging you, but again, based on my experience, I've never been an atheist. I may have been an atheist, I guess, when I was very little. I had no understanding of what God was or what any higher power was. But anyway, when I became older, I started to study more about the Bible and God and the Trinity. So, but anyway, for those that continue to experience spiritual attacks, I truly believe that it's because your level of faith in a higher power is, again, either you don't have it, you don't have a belief or faith in a higher power, or your faith is not strong enough. So think about that, as I'm saying this, to say, where am I really leaning towards? Or do I have any faith to even lean towards? If your answer is, I'm 50-50 on this, I'm 50-50 on that, or I don't know about this, I don't know about that one, I think that makes you more vulnerable to spiritual attacks. Now, I've talked to many people who, at one point when I met them, their spiritual faith, again, was very low. But as we have discussions about how beneficial and how powerful it can be to have a growing faith in a higher power, and once those people started to really grow their faith, I mean, they've experienced a higher level of spiritual protection. And I'm all about trying to help people be spiritually protected and, not have to deal with spiritual attacks or attachments. But it's up to you. Whatever faith you want to choose, I hope you just choose one that resonates with you so you can grow your faith and use that higher power faith to protect you and those that you love. Okay? So that's it for today, tonight. Tomorrow I'll be talking about another topic, but I do also want to tell you guys that I've been in contact with some of these Hmong ghost investigators / hunters. So right now we are currently trying to set up a time and date to do this interview with them. So I'm very excited about this. I hear about some of these groups out there that might be investigating haunted homes or haunted establishments that are Hmong, but I've never really found them until I found this group. So I'm going to ask them a lot of questions that you might have, and let's see what they have to say. Just really quick here, one of the guys that I've been in contact with, he talked about how it's kind of like a taboo, or people are so afraid to allow these things to happen, like these things meaning ghost investigations to happen, because it could make the spirits in that house angry. And he's saying that that's not always true, and I agree with him. I think spirits, ghosts, they have personalities just like us human beings. Sometimes when we cross over, we carry on how we were here. There's funny spirits, there's angry spirits, there's sad spirits. So it'll be interesting to see how they have experienced haunted homes and haunted places. So I'm very excited. I wanted to do a video interview with them, but again, like I said earlier, I'm still working on trying to figure that piece out. But stay tuned, all right? And you guys will hear who they are, how many investigations they've done, like just get their take on this whole ghost hunting or ghost investigations as Hmong folks. To me, I'm not trying to investigate no haunted houses. Again, it goes back to spiritual protection. If I'm walking into a place and it just doesn't feel right, shit, get the hell out of there. Or, don't even go there. But these guys, man, I think they have balls to do what they do, because I often think about, why would somebody want to investigate haunted houses or haunted establishments? They must be crazy. But hey, I'm glad somebody's doing it so I can watch. I'm not trying to, stir things up. So anyway, thanks for listening. Stay tuned for more interviews. If you have any questions about the podcast and what the plans are for this show, feel free to email me at, let me make sure I get this right. I just created this email earlier, hmongpeeps@gmail.com. Yeah, that's my email. Or if you're already a member on the page, on the Empowerment for Spiritually Gifted Hmong Peeps, you can certainly go on there and just post up a question and ask, and I'll try to answer. And if you have any questions about spirituality, feel free to post it on there. I think I'm going to try to do less of answering in a written post. I think what I'll do is, if I find some interesting questions that may apply to a lot of people on that page, I'll just do a podcast show to answer and give insight into whatever they're asking about. Because, I don't know about you guys, but I hate reading. Reading as in reading what people write. I'm not a big fan of that. I can read, but I'm just saying I don't like to read. I've never been a fan of reading. I'd rather watch and listen to stuff. So anyway, Thanks again for listening, and have a good night. Blessings to all of you.